it's something that I feel will have longevity, then I'll shoot.
Longevity.
Longevity. There's a word.
Hey.
Oh, Will, you've got the title of the episode again. Longevity.
Welcome to Frackulous, a technology podcast for humans. Episode 342. New electric vehicles, Blue Thread Sky, and M3 Max. Recorded October 2023. Humans are weak.
Hey, Will. Hey, David.
Hey, we're
Jeff.
back.
It's
I mean,
2024.
It's or is it?
It will be by the time you edit this.
Well, who knows? I mean, the cadence at which Frackulous comes out, wouldn't it just be so Fracul-like, if that can be a word, that we would wait 8 months, 9 months, 10 months to edit the first episode of the year, and then who knows, maybe a week to edit the second. That
what
would
if
just
we'll
be
do this next week and people would be like, what? 2 episodes in a fortnight? There is something wrong.
You just never know.
no. Neither do you. Neither do you. Anyway, how's everyone been?
Still here.
Yeah, all good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, all good.
Good.
That's what I meant.
I haven't had COVID since the last recording.
Christmas is coming, Will, so there's every chance that
Yeah,
Christmas is
that's
going to be
true.
ruined again. 4 years on the trot. Fingers crossed. David and I are having a sweepstake. To what date? Somebody in your family will be struck down with COVID. David, we should do that. Let's put £1 on. Let's do a spread.
Oh, okay. Gosh. How do you feel about this, Will?
Well, I want Christmas Day because then at least
Yeah.
I get the money.
Yes, okay.
I'll go with I'll have the odd numbers. So I'll have December 19, 21 and 23.
But is this from the point at which Will tests positive for
Yeah,
COVID with these
yeah.
non-existent COVID
Yeah.
testing?
Yeah. When
Oh,
they had that
kids.
galling moment of like, I've been coughing for a week, and he goes, oh no, test, and the double line is there. Yeah. Good stuff. Great.
So I've kind of forgotten how we do these podcast things about what our conversation starters are. We've got a big, long topic list of
We've got a lot
things
of
that
things.
we have been contributing since the last time we spoke, which was back in January.
And it is hilarious because in that podcast, I say, hey guys, it'd be great. We'll do the next one within a month. And it's like 9 months later.
But then in podcast time, it will be within the next month.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So do
I
we
miss-
start
I
off
miss
with
it.
some old favourites? Do we
Mm.
start off talking about? Oh, well, we've done COVID. Tick.
Tick.
We've got AirTags. We've got roaming. We've got iPhone. We've got apps count, of course. Apps count. All the old favourites.
David, you missed out electric vehicles. Did you say that? Our other favourite?
That's true.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
electric vehicles. Yeah.
I could do 20 minutes on that. Or maybe 3.
So I had to rush back from the train station to get here on time for our recording tonight,
Railway
and
station.
my car charged too quickly.
Is that the thing?
Well, yes, it turns out that it is. So I have, since we last spoke, I've got a new electric car. I have upgraded from a BMW i3 with a fairly limited range to a Volkswagen ID3.
Hang on, did BMW stop making them? I've got a friend that's got them, and she said that you can no longer get that or something. Or it's been
Yeah.
discontinued. Is that true?
BMW stopped making the i3.
They're really
which
nice cars. Wow.
they're really nice cars, but so a couple of things. First of all, BMW wasn't making enough profit on them, and so I understand it that the tooling, all the jigs and other things they need in their factories to make them, had reached end of life, and so in order to continue making the car, they would have had to have spent a lot of money making a whole new load of tooling, and they weren't making enough money, and they didn't think the car would have enough shelf life to make it worthwhile. So anyway, they ditched it. It's a modern classic. It's only increased. Well, actually, electric vehicle prices have gone through the floor, but that's another story. Anyway, so I got another car with a 3 in its name. I got a Volkswagen ID3, and this, as well as having a much larger range, also has a much faster charging capacity. I think I can charge up to like 120
Is
or
this
100.
one also made of cardboard, or is this one like a bit
No,
more
carbon. not cardboard, carbon. Yes, the i3 was plastic.
That would be really
reinforced
fuel
carbon.
efficient. It'd be so much lighter, but it's made of cardboard.
Yeah.
So fuel, as in power efficient.
No, it's not made of cardboard or carbon, although I'm sure there's carbon fibre in there. It seems to be made mostly of plastic, but that's
Right.
a story for another day. Anyway, so I was driving back here. I knew that it was about 25, 30 miles to get back here to my studio where I'm recording today. I knew that I had about 10 miles in my tank, and I thought, I know what, I will go and charge my car at the rapid chargers just by Rugby, just off the M6 or whatever it is on the way home. And I will plug it in and I will quickly go and grab a sandwich from the services. And then by the time I get back, it will have charged up, maybe given me an extra 20, 25 miles, just enough to get me back to the studio and back home so I can charge cheaply overnight. Because the thing is, charging at motorway service stations is effing expensive. It really, really is. So I don't want to charge it too much. But this car charges so much faster. So in the time that it took me to plug my car in, go into the services, grab a quick bit of rubbish food and get back to the car, I'd already drained about 15 or 20 quid's worth of electrons just because it charges that much faster, which was not a good thing.
Expecting it to charge that quickly?
Well, I guess I underestimated how long it would take me to walk into the services, to choose the food that I wanted, for it to be prepared, and for me to walk back to the car. In the back of my mind, I think I was still living in 2021, and it'll be about £3 worth of electrons that I'll have drained.
And there's no way of saying I want to stop when I get to £5 worth. Because I'm sure you can do that on some actual petrol pumps. You can say, cut out £20.
Yeah, it's not easily, no.
So this does just lead me into my little rant that I have about charge, and that is because I hired an electric car over last Christmas.
What did you hire?
I can't remember if you said it.
Was it a Hyundai? Was it a Hyundai Ioniq?
Hyundai.
Something.
Yeah, Hyundai Ioniq. Yeah.
Yes.
Lovely car, really nice to drive. But my issue is just with the whole charging thing, and it just comes down to one basic fact, right? At the moment, if you have a gasoline petrol car, you rock up to any petrol station, you open your cap, you put in the pump, you fill up, you pay, you can either pay at the pump or pay inside, and then you walk away, right? Yep. And electric charging is not like that. And until it is, then it's not going to catch on. It's not going to be, it needs to be at least the same. So in many places, once you've had the whole, have I got the right lead conundrum, then you go to a place and it's like, well, you can't actually charge up because someone else is already there. And then, and a lot of them, it was like, no, you definitely need to sign up and be part of our app or part of our club to do it, and then the best ones that I found were where you could, as you say, that fast charge one, David, you go in, you swipe a card and then it just, you just ad hoc randomly charges you your charge amount to your credit card and you walk away. Because that's what happens with a petrol station. I've never been to a petrol station where I have to log in to a petrol pump with an app before it'll let me dispense petrol. You see what I mean? It's just, it's bizarre. And then my whole experience is that, really you didn't get more than sort of 200 miles out of a full charge on that car if you had the lights and the radio on a bit. And I think it needs to be sort of 300 to 400 miles to make you feel comfortable. And then just the other week, I had a really fascinating experience with using zip cars in London. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to drive somewhere, which was, I calculated the round trip was 150 miles. I was prepared to pay for the time. And all the zip cars in my local area were all electric. There were no petrol ones. But the maximum range they all had was about 120 to 130 miles. And I thought, it never occurred to me before. I opened up the boot expecting there to be a charging cable inside the back of the zip car.
Yeah, how do they get charged?
I don't know. This is the great mystery that we need to solve on Frackulous. How do they charge zip cars? But there wasn't a charging cable inside. And my friend that I was with went, that's stupid. That's akin to like getting a petrol car and finding the petrol cap being welded shut. He's like, you hire a car and you're not allowed to fuel it. And it makes me want to go and buy my own charging cable. So that next time I have a zip car, an electric one, I can then just charge it on the fly.
Was it a zip car flex though?
This is it flex, yeah.
So what you could have done is taken your car with no charge, driven to the nearest flex.
But I wanted to take it outside of London, Will. That's the whole point.
Oh, outside the zip zone.
And what I'm saying, and with a petrol zip car, you can do that because you just fill up with petrol and you go. So my whole point is that until charging an electric car is of exactly the same, no hassle as filling up a petrol car, then it's never going to be the same, is it? Whether it be like an app or trying to find a location in the first place, or companies not providing you with the cables to let you charge them.
So two reasons why I think your zip car wouldn't have come with a cable. First of all, the cables will get nicked. It's inevitable. And those cables are not cheap. You know,
I looked them up, about £100. Yeah.
Yeah, and more than that if it's a 16 or 32 amp cable. Yeah. But also the majority of use cases for charging a zip car, I think, would be on a rapid charge, not on a fast charge. And the nomenclature is important there because a fast charge, I think technically is up to maybe 7.2 kilowatts, which is not all that fast. And if you are trying to charge a higher car, you want to be charging much faster than that. So the rapid chargers, where it's 50 kilowatts or above, where you typically on a smaller car going to be getting between 20 and 80% in 45 or so minutes, they are always tethered. You always have the rapid charge cable tethered to the charging unit, so you wouldn't need to have that cable in the car. But your point is absolutely a good one, that the infrastructure, it is patchy.
It's not there. Yeah.
Well,
and you don't have to have an app on your phone to fill up with petrol, do you? No.
Well, again, if you're using the rapid chargers, then you shouldn't need to have the app. Those ones, as per legislation, in theory, should all be tap and go. You can just pop your contactless card on there. With the fast ones, so your destination chargers, when you're in a car park and leaving it there for a few hours or something, I think they are still allowed to be app controlled. But yeah, I agree. The infrastructure is getting better,
right? But it needs to be a lot better before I think take up, is. And also, sorry, I have another little tiny.
But I guess if you own a car, your habits shift. Where if you're hiring, it's different. Because I find I've been using Zipcar recently, and I spend about £2 of my journey trying to work out how to turn the handbrake off.
There's like I had to ring
because they're all different.
One day. I had to ring Zipcar and go, where is the foot brake? Handbrake?
Was it the Nissan one, the Leaf?
The Nissan Leaf. I couldn't find it.
It's on the left. Yeah. It's like a pedal.
It's on the left. Yeah. It's a pedal. I rang them like in frustration going, I cannot move your stupid car.
Yeah.
Tell me. Yeah.
And also it's got really expensive. Like now a journey that would have been like £3 is like 7 or 8.
I'm using Zipcar less.
Yeah.
Sorry. And back to electric car rant, right? In the London borough where I live, they've nicely started to put in little like bollards, which are charging stations for people. So you just park your car. But this has led to a proliferation, just in the way that I'm an angry middle-aged man that hates, teenagers on their e-scooters. I now hate walking along a pavement and being like, oh, there's a cable just draped across the pavement because people have got their car on the road, cable across the pavement going into their house. And it's the weirdest thing ever. There's a lot of them nearby where I live and I hate it.
Will, in our show notes, it does say here, Will bought an electric vehicle.
I have.
Now, I know nothing about this.
Hey?
You've been keeping something secret from us.
This episode of Frackulous is brought to you by Audible.com, the premier provider of audiobooks. With over 180,000 titles to choose from, humans like to listen to things. If you're a human, you're probably listening to this podcast right now. Audiobooks on Audible are read by real live humans, often the same ones that wrote all of the words as well. Not only are you hearing the words written by the human, but you get to experience them exactly as they intended. Humans love listening to other humans. It is one of their favorite things to do, unlike Risk, which is good, because Audible is completely risk-free. If you don't like the sounds or words you're hearing, for any reason, you can exchange it for another without asking any questions. To start your free 30-day trial of Audible, which includes a free audiobook download, go to frackulous.com/audible so that they know that we sent you and to show your support for the show.
What have you bought?
It hasn't arrived yet.
Okay.
It's got a 70-mile range.
70?
A 70. It probably only carries one person
You bought an e-scooter. You bought an e-scooter, haven't you, Will?
I bought an e-bike.
Okay. Well, that's exciting.
Wow.
But I've found... So the one thing I was wondering about was I don't really have bike storage in my house. And we have these cycle hoop lockers, but they're across the street, which isn't great for charging a bike if it's sort of across the street and down another road. So I went for a folding e-bike.
Oh, gosh. Which one did you go with?
Are you allowed to name check the manufacturer?
It was called a Whisper. WISPER.
That's a chocolate bar, Will.
It's a British manufacturer. And also, so they have a throttle on the handlebars, which by default runs, I think, at 4 kilometers an hour, 4 miles an hour, a standard. But they've worked out this part of the legislation around e-bikes that if you get it, I think it's called type approved, it's like a 6-week process, effectively goes through an MOT, and they can then open that throttle up and let it do 15 miles an hour. So it effectively becomes an electric moped, but without any of the restrictions around a moped. So you can cycle it as normal, it does the pedal assist, but you can also just, at times, just use the throttle.
I've got the page open here for the Whisper folding electric bike. So this is not a cheap bike at all. And I can see here the option at the bottom, the full throttle option and the pedal assistance option. There are about 300 odd pounds difference between those two options. Wow. That is a lot of money. What are you hoping to use this bike for?
A car.
It is less than a car, for
Did
sure.
you get black, blue, or red, Will?
I went for a black one.
Nice. Okay. It's less than a car.
I'm doing some commuting at the moment, so I'll use it for that. Has the advantage that folding e-bikes are allowed on the tube.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's like if it's too rainy one day, like say if I cycle in, I could then fold it up, take it back on the tube, which is quite good. I would use it for times if my wife has the main car and I need to go and pick up my son from somewhere in a zip car, I could basically do half the journey on the e-bike and then fold it up, put it in a zip car, pick him up, and then do a return journey in a zip car.
And I guess the good news is that with the folding bikes, full stop. I've carried a Brompton before. They are really heavy. A folding e-bike must be, oh my goodness me, you're not going to need gym membership after getting this bike.
You're not going to really carry it. You're going to wheel it. You're going to use the throttle to wheel itself along. It's just more, and also you don't have to leave it outside the shop. You can fold it up, bring it in with you. I think that's a good advantage of it.
When are you getting this? I feel as though I need to come down and see this in action.
It should be arriving this week. So I ordered it at the beginning of October, but it does take 4 to 6 weeks for the certification process. So I kind of figured I might as well just get that out of the way, done.
So they're certifying you or they're certifying the bike?
Certifying the bike.
Okay. All right. Has anybody checked to make sure that you're competent?
No. But I do have a cycling proficiency from when I was
from 1987.
Yes.
I'm just taking a look at the different battery sizes on this bike. So there's a medium, a long, and a mega range. The medium's 50 miles. The mega range is 90 miles. I mean, you could drive up here to the Midlands, Will, on that thing.
Will, can you see David's face? I think he's a little bit envious. Now he wants one.
No, absolutely
no. You can
not.
see it. No, David, it's totally in your face.
I'm excited by the technology, and if I still lived in London, no, I don't think I would. I'm not a cyclist. I'm not that person. I do own a bicycle purely for the purposes of going cycling with my daughter.
Well, this is not about cycling. This is about commuting. So,
okay.
I'm not becoming a cyclist.
No,
I'm becoming someone who travels by bike in more of a Dutch fashion. Where it's just a mode of transport. It's an alternative means of getting around more efficiently.
So you're not going to be wearing Lycra?
I will not.
Okay.
But that's also the advantage of the e-bike, is that you don't end up sweaty where you arrive at your destination.
Yeah. Are you? I mean, rain is a thing.
Rain
here.
is a thing, but I do have waterproofs, so that's fine.
Good. I'm just concerned about your health and welfare, and safety too. But
we have a lot of bike lanes as well, which I will be using.
Right.
We have a wonderful Mini Holland program here in Walthamstow.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
And that extends quite far into the city, so I will not be using any main roads, and I will be taking back streets and cycle lanes.
Will you be wearing a helmet?
I will not be wearing a helmet.
Oh, is this because it will spoil the quiff?
It's more, I think it's unnecessary.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I think it's, if you go to Holland, no one wears a helmet.
Mm-hmm.
I think motorists see you differently if you wear a helmet. I think they treat people differently. And statistically, you're actually better off wearing a helmet as a passenger in a car or a driver in a car if you're worried about head injuries. And then as a pedestrian. So while obviously if you hit your head and you wear a helmet, it will protect you.
Yeah.
The actual chance of it happening and it actually doing any good is minimal in terms of general everyday commuting.
Will you be recording all your journeys on an i360 camera and posting
I
them to
will not
Twitter,
be doing that either.
like Jeremy Binder? Pointing out all the infringements and infractions.
No, I'll be sticking to cycle lanes, like I said, staying out the way of cars.
That would have been quality content via Twitter, Will. I've quit Twitter, by the way. Can we do that? I feel like we should get to that in a second.
Yeah. Still on the bike, before we come to the service formerly known as Twitter, does this bike have any tracking capabilities in it? Is there a AirTag equivalent, or will you be needing to affix something? Because these things are expensive, and that makes them a bit of a theft magnet.
Well, I'll probably put an AirTag in there somewhere, but like I said, it's fold up, so it's not really going to be leaving my side.
Would you take it apart and insert it inside, or just kind of like tape it to the outside?
I haven't quite worked that out.
You need to put it inside. You need to hide it inside the frame of the bike. And that's the word.
But I don't intend to leave it like locked up outside a shop or anything like that. I intend to take it in with me. And also, it's going to be mainly for commuting, like I said, going from one destination to another, where I can then securely lock up the bike or take it inside.
Well, this is a very exciting development, and I look forward to hearing the next time we speak on Frackulous in around about 12 months' time, how you've adapted to life as an e-bike. Is it an e-bike? Is that what we're calling it? An e-bike commuter?
Yeah, let's go with that.
All right. Very exciting.
David, you should come down your electric car to see Will's electric bike, and I'll turn up on an electric skateboard.
I was going to say, what are you going to bring to the party that's electric?
Yeah. Electric, my personality.
And we're seeing less of your personality on Twitter now, I understand. What's happened, Jeff? You've quit X. You are an X-Xer now.
How do you feel this because it was November last year that he that shall remain nameless took over, and first he retracted the API to a third party, and then a whole bunch of other stuff. So when the name change happened earlier this year, it was like literally sighed like that, long and hard several times. And it's just been in the last couple of weeks that I've just hit a point where I'm like, no, I'm done. I'll never delete it. Someone today was like, just delete the app off your phone. I'll still dip in and have a look, but it's got to a point where you think this is genuinely nothing like, what it was, how I remember it, and the world has moved on, and I'm not comfortable being a part of it anymore.
So are you moving those kind of communications, be it with, people friends, professional contacts, and people who engage with you because of your YouTube presence? Are you moving those conversations elsewhere, or is this social media world something you are stepping back from?
I've been posting more to my community tab on YouTube, which is nice. I do have a Blue Sky account, which I've been posting to a little bit now and then. But the other day, I just did an experiment and I posted. Normally, I would say, "Hey, everybody, here's a new video," and I would post a link to it on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I did a new video the other day and didn't share it on Twitter. And from the stats that I could see, it didn't seem to make any difference. As in, most people will watch it anyway. It performed well, even though I hadn't shared it on Twitter. And I think that was the final nail in the coffin. And I thought, well, I don't need to be posting links to my video on Twitter. Then I don't need to post on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think my last tweet was about 2 weeks ago, and I haven't missed it. I haven't had the itch, haven't had the urge. I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Is that why you didn't reply to my tweet then, Jeff?
Oh no, I haven't even seen your tweet. Well, no. You've got my phone number, just iMessage me. Did you tweet me? For real?
I did. And it's probably my first tweet in over a year.
No, not seen it.
There was a rail adhesion train pulled into
was it the double
station.
What, tube or rail?
The tube.
Yeah.
It was like a really old Victoria line train.
Yeah.
Had loads of stuff on it. I don't know what it was.
I'm just looking up your Twitter, Will. Sorry. What's the name again? I'll respond to your tweet. Hang on, no, what's your Twitter handle, Will? Hello?
I mean, do you really have to?
Well, I type Will Head and it's not there. What? Why aren't you there?
Have I been deleted?
Oh, there you are. I think I just typed it wrong. Hang on. Oh yeah. Oh, you sent me a tweet. What's a rail adhesion train? It pulled into Leytonstone last night. It was full of stuff and then went back out the wrong way. It probably contains a substance known as sandite, which is squirted onto the rails, which then allows it's like a sticky glue made of sand, which allows trains then to grip the rails better in sort of icy cold weather conditions.
Ooh, I see.
Yeah.
I'd never seen one before.
Yeah, well, there's one little train. There's an old train which they converted, and it runs around the whole network during November and December.
It looks like an old Victoria line train.
There's an old 67 Victoria line. Well, there's a couple of them, yeah. But November is what they call leaf fall month on the tube because the leaves are falling down, and that is a big problem. Wow.
The
train talk came early on this.
When was my tweet before that, Jeff? Just out of interest.
Do you not know? Is this a joke? You retweeted a David McLennan tweet.
Oh, that doesn't really count.
In September, and before that, it was one to me back in June.
Wow.
Because you screenshotted where I was on the Lateral podcast.
Oh yeah, you were on the Lateral podcast with Tom Scott, weren't you?
I was on the. Yeah, I've done another one as well. I've recorded another one since. Yeah, I've been cheating on you again with the podcast. I've got there's another one in the pipeline. That's a coming. You're welcome.
So you have taken a step back.
So Twitter, yes. But David, how do you feel about that?
How do I feel about you stepping back from Twitter?
Do you think Twitter is going to hell? Is it all falling apart?
I mean, is it the same service that it was when we found it most useful? No, absolutely not. The place is an absolute shit sty, frankly.
Thank you for saying it.
And I hate it. I really, really do. But, and here's the thing, that for me at least, there is still some bits of useful content in there, either in the lists that I have or in my followers tab, or my following tab, certainly not the everyone tab. And
do you mean the For You tab?
Yeah, exactly.
That's incredible. In a way, it's genius because the person in control has obviously said to the programmers, "Hey, feed up there a feed of the most controversial and most replied to and most antagonistic tweets possible." Because if you click on it and you read it, you're sort of drawn in, but you're drawn into this world of anger and arguments and hate and vitriol, and you sort of have to drag yourself away not to look at it because it sucks you in. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
And if I close the app and go back to it a couple of days later, the first screen it brings me back to isn't the one I was last on, isn't my following or my lists tab. It's back to For You. So I try and switch away from that before even seeing, before subjecting my eyes to the most heinous attention-seeking tweet right at the beginning. But the reason that I haven't ditched it and that I have gone back to it, well, not gone back to it, but I do still dip into it, is the value that I get. And I think it's very easy to go into any of these social media apps habitually and not really consciously, just because it's what I've always done. Let's see what's happening. But actually, I've noticed that by going in, I've been trying to take stock of what value that I get. And I've noticed the last few times that I've gone in where I've gone, actually, I've learned something. There's been a breaking news story, or someone has shared something that I hadn't seen anywhere else. And that is really valuable for me. So as much as I don't like it, and I genuinely don't like it, actually, if I go away from that For You tab and I do scroll through my couple of my lists and my following, maybe less so, I do see stuff that I don't see on other timelines, on other news feeds, and that is still valuable for me for now.
Are you not on Blue Sky?
No, I'm not on Blue Sky.
Are you using Threads? Using Threads?
I am on Threads.
Okay.
And
are you using Threads?
Well, it kind of goes in fits and starts, really. And I think there's different communities in a way, like how Twitter was in the earlier days, where there were 2 or 3 communities that I was part of, and I was able to kind of muscle in on various conversations. And it's almost as though Twitter helped to create those by understanding the people who you engaged with, your little pods, and elevating those tweets and that community into your timeline. I think Threads is kind of in that area. So, for example, Chris Finn and I will, who you know well, we have some good chats about Kit, podcast Kit, and so on there. But no, I haven't made the move on to Blue Sky, and I think that Mastodon never really. Steady on. I've never felt the need to do that over Mastodon either, so I've not really come back to that. So yeah.
Would you like an invite code to Blue Sky, David?
Do you think I should? I mean, you tell me. You're on Blue Sky, so
I think you should. I think you should try it.
I think the app's terrible.
Oh, I only
third-party apps yet.
use web. I'm only on the desktop.
Right. I found that I was following you and my friend Dan, who invited me, Jeff, not you. And
you should have stayed. I'd have given you a code.
Jeff, code me up, my friend. Code me up.
And
are we?
I would forget to open it. I'd open it up, and it would literally say, "There is nothing here for you." Like, it doesn't seem to like other apps. They at least save the state from like a couple of weeks, so you can go back. Whereas it just seemed to say, "There's nothing here for you." And so I since just followed a load of not random people I knew on there through other social networks. But again, I still only go on there every 2 weeks when I remember and go, oh, I haven't been on Blue Sky for a while.
Weirdly, if you just sent me your rail adhesion train thing on Blue Sky, I would have seen it, and I didn't see it on Twitter.
Yeah,
sorry.
It's just, it's just too many apps these days.
Yeah. Well...
Ivory's my go-to, and Mastodon just feels like Twitter or Tweetbot anyway. That's my open up in the morning. That's my
how
first
long?
one.
Yeah, well, that's the only reason I do Twitter, because I've just instinctive muscle memory of the years means I check the BBC News, and then I check Twitter, and those are the 2 things that I just always do. But how long before we form a new habit? How long do you think it's going to be? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years before we settle into the new? Everybody's doing we've all agreed on what the new thing is that we're going to use.
I don't think there is going to be one thing now. I think that's the point. Is centralization. We were in a golden time, and then and now it's all ruined, and everything is fragmented.
I disagree. I think given long enough, it will become centralized.
But I think what's happened with Twitter
take
shows the problems of centralization.
It might take many years, though. It is
you
going to come good.
you mentioned the apps that you open first thing in the morning as an example of habit reinforcement, habit formation, and so on. I feel as though I've gone back in time. So because I'm not really engaging in Twitter so much anymore, the first app that I open is my RSS reader now.
Well, there's still a blog that I read, which I've been reading for like 20 years, from like 2004. It's like, I know. But RSS died, didn't it?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, there's a few different RSS readers. Yeah, Google Reader died, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Okay, yeah.
But Reader is the app that I use, RWDER, and that I'm subscribed to a few different feeds on there that give me the things that I crave after, and it's much more focused. Again, I'm not saying that's always a good thing, and what I do get from Twitter when I go in there is more diverse views that I try and curate in my own lists. But if brilliant, what has Apple done overnight? What's happened in photography or video world overnight? What have some of the telecoms places that I need to follow for work done? I get that beamed straight into my eyes from my RSS reader. So I guess that's one way of doing it.
Wow. I remember the days of not having a smartphone and you used to wake up. You actually had to get out of bed.
Well,
walk to your laptop, sit down, and then start
laptop. Show off.
Well, that's the other thing that I've started doing is not bringing my phone into the bedroom.
Then what do you use as an alarm clock?
I've got my Apple Watch.
I should try that. I should go and buy like an old school alarm clock. Leave all my devices, not in the bedroom, and then you're forced to get up out of bed, aren't you?
But
I have children, and they force me to get out of bed.
Well, yeah.
But there is something that has made me bring my phone back into my bedroom.
This episode of Frackulous is brought to you by ExpressVPN, the easiest way to protect your online privacy. So easy, even a human could do it. ExpressVPN secures and anonymously anonymizes your internet browsing by encrypting your data and hiding your public IP address. Turning on ExpressVPN protection only takes one single click, and there are easy-to-use apps that run seamlessly in the background whether you insist on using a tablet, phone or computer. ExpressVPN is rated the #1 VPN service by fellow humans at techradar.com. ExpressVPN has a special offer just for humans that listen to Frackulous with their ears. You can get 3 months free without paying any money if you sign up for a 1-year package for a year. To sign up for a 1-year package and get 3 months free for free and to show your support for the show, sign up at frackulous.com/expressvpn.
And that is...
Oh, hang on. No, wait. It's going to be like some kind of health monitor, or it's going to be counting something. The health thing. The health thing.
Not really, but it's a new feature in iOS.
Okay, hang on.
And I know how much you love new features in iOS, Jeff.
We should do that. Is it a sleep feature? Is it a sleep?
The sleep mode, what's it called?
Well, it's the standby mode in iOS 17. So when your phone is horizontal and on a charging stand, and I've got one of those little Belkin stands by my bed, MagSafe, then I get a really nice looking, a variety, frankly, of nightstands.
I tried it for like 2 minutes. I was like, this is too complicated. I'm not going to use this.
Okay, it just shows me the time.
I was like, this looks terrible. I've seen other people who've got nice ones. I was like, I can't be bothered.
Is that where it goes black with red text? Is that?
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the options. You can configure it to show photos or all different. It's just like the widgets.
I'm sure people get value out of it. I just looked at it and thought, I'm getting nothing from this.
Fair enough.
I can't see when I haven't got contact lenses in, so its use is limited when I'm at night.
You want to discuss iOS 17?
Oh.
Oh no.
What do you want? You're still on iPhone 9.
I'm on a mix of 16 and I'm on a mix of 16 and 17.
16 and 17.
So when we last spoke on Frackulous, you had a couple of iPhone SE 2022s, I think.
Still got those, yeah. Yeah.
So you still got the button?
Yeah.
Excellent.
We know this. Never giving up the button.
Well,
you're
let's
not.
see.
You still think that day is coming?
I think they're just going to
yes.
have to, aren't they?
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if that were Easter. Yeah, I'm going to go with Easter 2024, which is when Apple will release a new SE equivalent phone that ain't got no button.
Right.
We'll see.
So this is it. I'm in the last year of
iPhone ownership.
buttoning.
But Will, you have a new iPhone. You've got an iPhone 15 that's got an extra button.
No, I don't have a 15.
14.
Have I lost track of my
Yeah, no, I stayed
numbers?
on the 14.
Oh, you stayed on the 14. Ah, yes, of course. Sorry, yes.
You've got a new phone.
No, well, I've got a 14 too.
Yeah, but that was since recording.
Oh gosh. You see, this is where time just plays funny tricks. So I had an iPhone.
It's 2024, David.
Is it? Oh God. So I had an iPhone 13 Pro Max. I had big phone, and then I dropped it. I dropped it when I was in. I think I was in Geneva or I was in France, and the damage wasn't immediately apparent apart from when it came to unlocking my phone. Now, had I a button, Jeff, then everything would have been fine. But I had no button. I had Face ID.
What sort of drop are we talking?
Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. That's not because I was drunk when I dropped my phone. But maybe it was. I'm not exactly sure which drop may have done this.
Oh, there's multiple drops.
Well, it's a big phone. It just falls out of your hand that little bit easier. Anyway, so long story short, over the course of a couple of days, it became apparent that the Face ID scanner on my phone was not working reliably. And either as a result of a drop or an accumulation of drops, what happened was that I couldn't unlock my phone with my face anymore. And on the one hand, that's a minor annoyance when you're having to swipe up and type in your code. But then with some apps like banking apps and pretty much any of the apps that require some form of authentication, it becomes really quite a major annoyance. So, okay, let's get it repaired. I've had the phone for less than a year. Maybe it was the drop, maybe it wasn't the drop. Who knows? So I know what, I'll take it back to the Apple Store and see what they say. So they ran some diagnostics on it in my local Apple Store, and they go, oh yeah, absolutely. Looks like there's a problem here with the Face ID scanner. Let's just double check where you bought. Oh, you didn't buy this from an Apple Store. I go, didn't I? Oh yes, I bought it from John Lewis next door. Because if I remember, John Lewis had stock of this phone and the Apple Store did not at that point, and I wanted to walk away with the phone that day. So they say, well, you need to take this back to John Lewis and do a warranty repair for them.
And their returns aren't as... I mean, obviously, John Lewis has a good return system, but it's nowhere near as good as Apple's.
So the difference was, you're absolutely right, Apple said, we can repair this... and it will cost, and we've got the part upstairs and we can do it. And if you hang around for a couple of hours or something like that, you can have your phone back repaired if it is indeed what we think it is. However, we cannot authorize that because you didn't buy it from us. Now, you can pay for that repair and it'll be, I forget exactly how much it was, a couple of £100, I think. But I suggest you take it to John Lewis next door. So I take the phone to John Lewis next door. Oh, no, that's right. The Apple Store actually printed me out a diagnostics report of what they'd found on the phone and the costing, so I could take that to the John Lewis store next door to customer services there. So I went into customer services at the John Lewis and shown them the piece of paper, and they go, yep, absolutely, we can totally get this repaired for you. It will take between 2 to 4 weeks for that to happen. I'm like, what? Yeah, we need to send it off to our service partner, and there's a bit of a backlog at the moment. But
you don't need your phone for 2 to 4 weeks, David. You can just...
Yeah, I think most people can survive with that.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Well, right. And look, I've got
no
drawers.
phone calls, no messaging.
I've got drawers full of phones, but this is where I started to feel really quite exposed because I don't have drawers full of iPhones anymore. I do have an iPhone in a drawer, but it's an iPhone 10 that no longer works because of water damage. I've got loads of Androids, but I'm so embedded into the Apple ecosystem with the shared calendars and with the iMessage groups and all of the parental control stuff with my kids that actually moving away from having an iPhone was quite eye-watering. So I'm like, okay, what do I do at this point? Do I bite the bullet?
Yeah, you did.
Well,
I bet you did. I
bought a much bigger bullet than I expected to bite.
You bought a brand new phone.
There's a 14-day Apple return program. Policy, not program.
How much did the new phone cost you, David?
Okay, so I was on an iPhone 13 Pro Max at this time, and I didn't want to have the big phone anymore. It was too big for my pocket, too big for my hands. I wanted the size smaller, and the iPhone 14 with the dynamic island was totally a thing, and I wanted to buy into that. So I thought, okay, here's what I'm going to do. We were messaging on our little Frackulous chat iMessage group at this point before I handed the phone over. And I said, what do I do, guys? And Will, you very, very rightly suggested that there is this 14-day return policy. So the master plan was this. I get the iPhone 14 Pro in the size and color that I want, and they had that in the Apple Store, while I have my iPhone 13 Pro Max repaired under warranty from John Lewis. Now, that 14-day return policy actually turns more like a 28-day return policy because all you have to do once you buy the phone is within 14 days, and I might be a day or two out here, but my understanding of the policy is you need to tell them within 14 days of your intent to return the phone, and then you have another 14 days in which to actually return the phone. So that means I would have had 4 weeks of an iPhone 14, my kind of, temporary phone, big rabbit's ears there, while my iPhone 13 was getting repaired. So that's exactly what I did. I got the iPhone 14, and yes, the other minor complication here is because I'd moved over from a physical SIM to an eSIM, that I needed to go back to a physical SIM, so I had to pop into the Vodafone store and explain what was going on and say, right, I want to move off of eSIM onto a physical SIM. Actually, was very quick, probably about 15 minutes in store once they'd figured out that I wasn't some kind of SIM card scammer.
I guess it's fine if you're there, if you're by a store when you make this decision. If you're at home.
I had all 3 of these stores within 2 minutes walk of one another, so I realised I was very lucky there. So my iPhone 13 with the broken Face ID scanner was off in warranty land for a few weeks. I had an iPhone 14, and my mistake was getting exactly the phone that I wanted, and the plan was to hand it back. Did I? Did I heck? No, I still have that iPhone 14, and the iPhone 13 Pro Max came back repaired, and my wife now has that phone.
Oh, right. So that's not your backup anymore.
No, that would have been a very expensive backup. So my wife has that phone, and we sold the iPhone 13 mini that she was on. So we got some money coming back into the house.
Step from the mini to the Max.
She loves it. She likes the better battery life for sure. And
the mini's battery life is not great.
Yeah, and she quite likes the big phone lifestyle. It turns out. So
I bet a broken button is much cheaper to repair than a broken Face ID scanner. Just saying. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, maybe. I will never find out because those broken buttons are never going to be a thing in my life again.
They're getting more and more repairable as they go on. I think the 14s, when not the Pros, just the normal 14s, you can replace the back glass on those without it being like a £700 repair. And I think with the 15 Pro now, it's got that same system. So they are getting more repairable.
What's next on the list, Will?
Jeff, analogy phone line?
Analog, sorry, that was me.
Analog phone line.
Wrote that on my phone.
What was that?
I don't know. You texted me one time.
What did I text you?
Something about Frackulous topic, analog phone line. We could do M3 Max if you want.
Oh, Yes. No, hang on. Analog phone line. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Can I tell you? Yeah. Just a story.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Oh, no, you'll definitely have stuff to talk about on this. Yeah. Yeah. I have I have a home phone. I have a landline phone and a landline phone number.
Is it one of those corded ones with a curly cord connected to
you have to
box?
spin the thing to go good.
Well, it is, Will. It is a rotary style phone in the shape and the design of a classic rotary phone, but it's just push button.
Right. We have an original rotary phone which you can't use anymore because it doesn't work.
In my loft, I may have that. Anyway.
Pulse styling.
But it used to plug into your standard style BT phone socket, which then later became like a Virgin Media phone socket. And then I read in the news somewhere that it was being upgraded, and you'd have to plug your phone into your broadband router instead. And I was what? And I didn't really pay any attention to it, right? And I'm fairly sure that Virgin Media never wrote to me or emailed me to say, you now need to plug your phone into your router. And one day, it's about I kept thinking for about 6 months, I was like, I wonder if my phone still works. And one day I just picked up my phone. I was like, yep, there's no dialing tone. But the thing is, and I thought, no, did Virgin Media ever send me a box with a cable in to plug the phone? Because what you need is that you plug the phone into an adapter, which then goes into the router. I was like, no, they didn't. And I went through a really protracted process. And I rang, with trepidation in my heart, I rang the Virgin Media helpline. I went, hello. I went, the phone's not working. And I'm pretty sure all I need is the adapter that I plug it in to fit into the router. Could you just send it to me? And I can't explain how protracted and convoluted it was, but I couldn't get them to agree. Just send me you have to get the bleep machine out, Bill.
What did they want to send someone out? Or
I just send me the fucking cable so that I can plug it into my router. No. They had to send someone out, and they insisted, and I was like,
and did they have to change your router, or was your router?
Yeah, that's fine. And the guy came out, and he was really nice, and we had a chat, and he went, and basically after about 10 minutes, he went, oh, so all we really need to do is just send you the adapter. I was like, yep, I knew. And we had a cup of tea and we had a chat, and then we talked about broadband speeds and how much he liked his job and how he hated the customer down the road, blah, 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 blah. And he just plugged my phone. I think we had to reboot the router, and I think he had to press a button to activate something, just control that end. And then, and then my phone came good. But it freaks me out that phones now plug into your broadband router. My middle-agedness is not.
They're getting rid of POTS, aren't they?
Well, but the point is that presumably copper phone lines, aren't part of the internet. so, if the internet goes down, then presumably your phone goes offline.
Well, there's a few things here, and yes, the old PSTN is being replaced and ripped out because this is old technology that's very power inefficient and all the rest of that. And whether you're Virgin Media or BT or any of those other providers, it's all going to be essentially VoIP, voice over IP, which is why you need to plug your phone into your broadband router, because it's all digital these days. But one of the big challenges with this is that your old phone lines that came from the old analog exchanges provided a current, provided power, provided, 48 volts or something like that into your house. So even in the event of a power cut or, some kind of catastrophe, you'd be able to pick up the phone and call emergency services. But when you get a power cut now, your broadband router presumably will also go down too, as well as your phones.
It's got a UPS on it.
Well, yes.
So what they're then saying is you then just use your mobile. But there might be some people out there of a senior generation that don't have a mobile and they just rely on their landline. I did some research on this. I'm going to say what I think is the thing, David, and you're going to nod and agree or shake your head.
Yep.
Is that there is, for people that don't have a mobile and don't have broadband internet, there is a box which sort of gives you a very low level of broadband internet so that you still can use your phone, but not in an internet style way, but without giving you internet access. Is that correct? There's a gizmo.
There's a few different gizmos. The UK is not the only country that has been on this journey. Places like Canada, I think maybe the Netherlands as well, but a few countries have been on this digital voice journey and have got different challenges with regards to coverage. So that if you do suffer from a power cut, what are you going to do? And the couple of things that have come in there are, as Will has, a battery-backed system that will give you power for an hour or something like that will enable you to continue to access the outside world if you do need to make an emergency call. Hybrid phones that have got a kind of failover SIM inside them, but then there are some circumstances where a vulnerable customer, B, subject to power cuts, and C, not very much in the way of mobile coverage. So some places in the UK, in the Welsh valleys and so on, we've covered this on Rip Off Britain quite a lot over the last couple of years.
But what's the gadget you get if you don't have broadband internet that gives you just enough broadband internet to give you voice over IP telephone?
I honestly, I don't know about that one. The conversations that I've had have been around hybrid systems, and
also
if
mean?
you don't, and if you're a customer that doesn't have that doesn't have broadband, then there is a base level of service so that you will still be able to make phone calls even though you are not a broadband subscriber.
I don't know what it's called. I'd have to Google it again. But there's a box. They come round and they go, yes, we'll plug this in, and this in effect gives you limited internet just for your phone calls.
Yeah, that makes sense. But again, absolutely useless in the event of a power cut.
Correct.
And no mobile coverage.
Correct.
Such was...
So why are we doing this?
Well, when BT started rolling out its digital voice program, it actually stopped for 6 months, 9 months, maybe a little bit longer than that, to iron out exactly these issues with regards to people not feeling secure, not feeling safe anymore, because these phone lines have, for many people, been that safety measure when all else fails. So rightly so, they press pause on it. 3G's also being shut down across the UK as well. And that kicked off earlier in 2023 in places like, I think, Plymouth and Basingstoke, maybe.
What are they going to use the bit of the spectrum for instead? Frequencies again.
More 4G, more 5G, 6G and beyond. That's the theory. And again, 3G's been around for 20 or so years now.
They're keeping 2G though, aren't they?
Well, yes, and there are a few. Well, 2G also has a sunset date as well. And that spectrum will be being reused. But the big problem with 2G is that it's still used for a lot of low-frequency stuff. So, for example, smart meters in a certain part of the UK still use the 2G sort of frequency range to report back to the to the grid or to the energy suppliers. So I think O2 actually has the contract for that in part of the UK. It's a little bit more complicated than that, as I remember. Some of it went over my head, but that's got a much longer shelf life before they switch that off. Yeah, ultimately, it will be 4G and above, and the bits of spectrum will be reused for these next generation comms things.
And which was the first 4G for iPhone?
The 4, wasn't it?
Might have been a 5, but I can't quite remember.
5.
That 2012, wasn't it? 2013, maybe. Anyway, 3G's effing useless where I am. My phone thinks it's got coverage. I'm on Vodafone. I get nothing on 3G in this country. When I'm abroad, when I'm roaming in Europe...
What does that mean for femtocells? Because they are... the Shore signal was 3G.
And Vodafone stopped supporting the Shore signal a couple of years ago now. Yeah. They switched that off, sadly.
I mean, I don't use mine anymore. Maybe that's why they turned them all off.
Yeah, but they were. It was costing them a chunk of money as well in terms of the licensing, if I remember, as well. Good. So that is Jeff's analog phone line.
Next on the list. Hang on. How long have we been recording? Got.
Just 1 hour.
Because it wouldn't be a Frackulous without Geoff pointing out how long we've been recording for.
1 hour 10 minutes. Yeah. What?
What?
Yeah.
You've been online 1 hour 10 minutes, but we haven't. We've only been recording an hour.
No, I've been recording for 1 hour and 1 hour and 1 minute. There we go.
Yeah. Well done.
We just clicked over the hour. What else can I have a middle-aged moan about? Brilliant.
Does Will have an electric car yet? No. David no longer has 2 identical electric cars. We've moved past that now.
I don't have an electric car.
No. Touch ID versus Face ID. I think we've done that now, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want to do the M3 event? Because that's actually quite topical.
Okay. Yeah. How do you want to kick it off?
Who's going to spend $1,600 on an underspec laptop?
And the rest. Goodness me.
This episode of Frackulous is brought to you by FreshBooks, the easy-to-use online invoicing software designed to get you paid cash money faster. Face it, humans, you are not good with numbers. If you're not a numbers human, sign up for FreshBooks and let them handle the hard stuff for you. FreshBooks users save 2 days per month on average, which you could spend doing futile tasks like talking to other humans and eating food in front of each other. In order to pay for these pointless activities, you are going to need money. FreshBooks lets you create invoices that look more professional than your substandard motor skills allow. You can even keep track of expenses, so you don't end up with negative money. Which is bad if your entire world is built on having it to survive. To try FreshBooks for free for 30 days, go to frackulous.com/freshbooks and enter Frackulous into the How Did You Hear About Us section, so that they know that we sent you and to show your support for the show.
Was it 8 gigs of memory or something? It's outrageous. 16 should be a minimum.
I think everyone
you
agrees
can
with you.
You can get one with 16, Jeff.
Yeah, but the base model was 8 gig. It's just rubbish.
But like, not everyone needs that.
No, I think no, 16 is bad.
Well, the M-chips are different. So,
and it was only like 512 gigs of storage as well, I think. You need a terabyte.
Most people, well,
minimum.
I don't know. It depends what you're doing with your laptop. If you're doing anything with media files, yes. But for some people that don't need a terabyte and don't need 16 gig.
What, you spend $1,600 just for a laptop to check Facebook? Brilliant. Yeah. But
it's got a nice screen.
It's got a nice sort of backing to it as well.
So this is the news that Apple has revamped its MacBook Pro line with off the back of a scary fast event on Halloween, and it's got these new M3 processors. And I think what we're getting at here is the fact that Apple has created an artificially low price point for its entry-level Mac with a machine that really for the Pro name, and I'm kind of with Jeff here, if it's a MacBook Pro, you're wanting to do Pro things with it. And I don't think that the specs are Pro on this. And if you're going for that model, get yourself an Air instead that actually is going to be more useful for you.
But it replaces the 13-inch MacBook Pro, which a lot of people have said wasn't a Pro computer.
Right, but that doesn't mean that they should come up with a 14-inch that also isn't a Pro computer. They have a chance to wipe the slate clean.
I mean, I've used this 13-inch Pro for 3 years, and it's only since I've moved to 4K editing that it's not up to spec. But for those 3 years I've had it, it's been absolutely fine. And at the time when I bought it, that was basically the only Pro M1 option.
But with 8 gigs of RAM?
I got 16.
Well, exactly. And I think Jeff's point here is that the entry-level MacBook Pro has 8 gigs of, unified memory and half a terabyte of storage, which by the time you've slapped macOS, goodness knows what even number it is anymore, on there. And if you are opening more than, I don't know, a dozen or so tabs in Safari, then, well, good luck avoiding the spinning beach ball, frankly.
I think it is low, I will give you that. But it's for people that are price conscious and don't like. Why make the entry level 1,800 if people don't want that? People don't have to buy it.
People don't have to buy it. I would urge people who are considering that entry level to go for a MacBook Air, which is almost certainly, capable enough, and they'll be able to have a bit more RAM, perhaps. But yeah. Anyway, regardless of the entry level, Will, you sent me a screenshot the other day of a new MacBook Pro with an M3 processor that you've gone ahead and ordered. And ordered.
So
that and a bike. What? You've been spending all
right?
What? Can you buy me something if you've got so much cash? Well, I could do with the new iPad.
The MacBook is a business expense. It's because I've just recently moved to shooting 4K, not because we're producing a 4K, but because we're producing Instagram vertical video as well as YouTube horizontal video. And in order to basically make that work better and not have to zoom in massively and lose the quality, we're shooting wide in 4K and basically cutting 2 shots from that. And not only was I think we did the shoot, when was it, David, a couple of weeks ago?
Yes.
And normally I think we would get, from a day's shoot, take up, about 20 gig, something like that.
Yeah.
And by the end of the day, we'd done the cinema shoot and we'd filled 3 64 gig cards. So that's
Yeah.
an incredibly higher amount of data. So the terabyte, I think I'd done another 4K shoot prior to that, and we shot over 500 gig of stuff. So the terabyte hard drive on my MacBook was starting to look incredibly cramped. And I'm quite good at media management and moving stuff on and off. And then came to the edit. And while I could still edit it, as soon as I put any coloring on the clips, it stopped. It started dropping frames. And the main thing was I went from basically taking like a 10-minute edit and exporting it into 3 minutes to taking kind of 25 minutes. And
yep.
when
that
you
quickly
can't,
adds up, doesn't it?
Well, it's when you can't preview in real time the final thing in Premiere without dropping frames. You've then got to export and then watch the final output. And then if you've got any problems, this is the thing, if you've got any problems you need to then correct, you've then got another 25 minutes. So
yep.
I decided it was time to replace my M1, which has done me well for 3 years. And I have spec'd up. So I looked into all of the various models, and I decided that I wanted to get 36 gig this time.
Interesting how it's not a power of 2, that it's not it's not 16 gigs, it's 18 gigs. It's not
I think
32 gigs.
It's got like 3 memory controllers or 4 memory controllers.
Right.
So it's 6 times 3. But the numbers are always a little bit made up anyway. We just expect it to be 32 and 48 and 64. And decided I wanted 2 terabytes hard drive, and was looking at the specs. And the main thing that swung me, so in the end I went for the Max, and the main thing that swung it was that there's this video encode engine.
Yep. And
the Max has 2 of those. And what I really want to do is get 3 to 4 years out of this MacBook. So it goes it's well spec'd enough that I don't have to be, because I hate replacing MacBooks just because it's moving a lot of data around, getting it set up. You've got all the downtime. So yes, it was a considerable amount of money. But I mean, I spec this thing up to the maximum you could spec it up to, apart from, I think I got a 1 terabyte rather than a 2 terabyte at the time. And I did think about, do I want to, it's £400 for the extra terabyte hard drive, which is on some level ridiculous. But like a similar SanDisk is going to be £200, and it's not as fast, and it's external. And so to not have to mess around, moving files around, have a bit more breathing room, to get a MacBook, which I think will last at least 4 years.
Okay. Yeah, I would say going with the Max in there and, certainly getting a bit more in terms of storage and in terms of unified memory should see you good for 3 or 4 years.
And they have it does seem that the Max is where the power has gone, and the Pro, the Pro only has 4 performance cores, I think.
It seems to have cut down from the M2, doesn't it? Just reading some of the reviews that dropped yesterday as we record, the embargo broke, and it seems as though the Pro is that kind of squished middle. Yeah. And I'm inclined to agree that the Max, God, they're good at the upsell, aren't they? Yeah. My word. So 4K, I've been working in 4K for a little while. longer than you, perhaps. I don't know. I'm on an M1 Mac Mini, and that's been okay. It's been okay, but when I'm sharing projects with my also 3.5-year-old MacBook Pro on an old Intel processor, no, it's really not working. I mean, first of all, in Premiere and After Effects, there are compatibility issues now, which means that it's just a real faff to take a project home with me and edit on my MacBook and bring it back into the office. But yeah, performance-wise, I'm having to preview stuff in like 1/8, 1/16 quality, which is just awful, absolutely awful.
I mean, I did previously edit a 4K project on my old Intel Mac, which was from 2012, and had to do the proxy workflow.
Yep.
Which is fine, but again, you still have that problem where that was taking like an hour to export like a 10-minute edit. And then any kind of changes. Like, in fact, what I was doing was I was doing the coloring and the edit and then doing an export of that, but leaving off the titles so that I could then bring it back in 4K, but with everything baked in. And then if there are any changes to the titles or anything like that, that could be a much quicker edit. But then you've got like massive proxy files hanging around and intermediate files and...
Yeah. Jeff,
Hi.
You have recently changed camera system, and on your Canon system, you're capable of shooting in 4K, but you aren't on the Mac side, are you? Jeff's just bending down to pick up a camera. Pick up a camera. There we go. Jeff, you've moved over from a DSLR to a Canon mirrorless. 5 years now, the EOS mirrorless, the R system has been out, and you finally switched over.
Been out 5 years.
I was there for its launch, as I'm sure I've told you before.
The R and the RF and the RF, or the R5, and now there's an R7 and an R10.
Yeah.
And somebody pointed out, but the R, I've got an R7 basically, is what I went to the Canon R7.
And have you switched lens system as well, or are you using an adapter? Jeff is now bending down. He's going to pick it up and show me some lenses.
So the R7 comes with its own little.
So you've got a kit lens on there.
Just the kit lens on there.
Yeah.
Which actually I had a problem with today. Gave an error message. But then I've also bought the. I'm showing you that so that that looks like. So
yes.
And then just plug in your old.
So that lets you use
because I've got a 10 to 20 and 10 to 18 mil wide-angled lens, which there isn't one for the R system yet, except just this week.
I was going to say yes.
Did announce that there is now a 10 mil wide-angled R lens.
It's a lot of sweet money to change over the camera and to change over the camera system as well. I've bought a new lens this week. I've been using, so I've switched over from Canon cameras to Sony cameras, and I've had a Metabones adapter that lets me use my Canon EF lenses with the E mount on the Sony.
So you can use Canon lenses on a Sony camera.
Yes, you can.
Amazing.
And that was a very common. I have bought my first my Sony lens this week, and I was getting something, and I spoke to my friend Rob, who works for a production company, and I remember they had a similar thing where whenever you started to adjust the aperture, it would do a little flash, and you would have this kind of dip to white as the signal. Not great while you're recording, and my FS7 was just starting to do it involuntarily as well, and I'm like, this isn't making me happy. So I've bought it's quite nice, and it was quite reasonably priced as well. My first Sony G lens that covers like 18 to 110 or something like that, f4 constant aperture if I want it to, and it's a pretty reasonable price, and it also has, good for event running and gunning, a power zoom as well that I can control from the hand grip.
So you're all Sony now?
I'm a bit of a mix. I've still got my Canon camera. Canon cameras. The camera that I use for Zoom calls and other bits and bobs is a Panasonic mirrorless, but for the proper work that I do, I am Sony now. Yes,
and
yes.
Sony mirrorless as well.
Yeah.
Because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the main advantage is that the form factor of the camera is slightly smaller, and they're just lighter, and the fact they literally they don't go clunk. It just feels less clunky. It just feels it's just lighter and nicer to use. Yeah.
Well, my Sony camera is a hulking, great big shoulder-mounted ENG camera, but I am looking at getting a smaller mirrorless camera. I'm either looking at an FX3 or more likely an FX30. But yeah, very, very similar kind of story there. However, taking a step back, we were talking about 4K workflows and stuff, and Will was talking about what he's had to do in terms of embracing a 4K workflow and it not quite being great on an Intel Mac, let alone on an M1. Well, on an M1, let alone an Intel. You aren't even on Mac, Jeff. You're still clinging on with your fingernails onto Windows.
No, what? Hang on, one minute. Not clinging on, but proudly continuing my 30-year use plus of Windows and loving every minute of it. Yeah.
Well, I feel as though I'm so far out of the Wintel ecosystem these days, and I mean, I only switched over about 12 or so years ago. Finally,
you have questions? What?
Well, so you're doing 4K now. I take it you're ingesting in 4K.
No, it depends. If I'm doing a quickie video, I'll just shoot 1080. But if it's something that I feel will have that deserves quality and will have longevity, then I'll shoot.
Longevity.
Okay.
Longevity. There's a word. Oh, Will, you've got the title of the episode again. Longevity. Brilliant. You did it. We did it. We can stop now. 1 hour, 2 minutes in. We found the title.
What's your PC? Come on, let's be.
We've done this before, haven't we? It's
been a whole year since we spoke about it. Who knows what you've upgraded since then? Because you can do that on a PC, right? You can buy yourself a new graphics card or a new sound card. I mean, why would you need to replace a sound card, Jeff?
I've still got the i9 10900 X CPU running at 3.7 giga, which is if I'm editing 4K, I do the trick that you do. I'll drop it to like third or half quality. So now if I'm just doing a quickie YouTube video, it's like bish bash bosh, 1080, my processor just chomps through it and I go click upload. Within 30 seconds, it's kind of like there. And I can remember the days of like Will saying, it taken like 10 to 20 minutes to export a video and then half an hour to upload it. I'm like, how did we ever exist in those conditions? And now it's just like, just takes minutes. If I export a video now, it just takes seconds. It's fantastic. And then seconds to upload it. Marvelous.
Very good.
Loving it. Yeah, I'll go fully 4K at some point when I get my next PC, and then I'll just I'll do everything in 4K, but not at the moment. Yeah. Gosh, how many apps are on your phone, Will?
Oh well, I'm gonna have to look. I'll put it in another room. Just 1 sec.
And then I'm gonna go. It's getting late, and we have been going for 1 hour 20 minutes.
I have an app count for you. It's not that impressive. I think David is still beating me.
224.
340 is my guess of Will's app count.
It's only 376.
Oh, okay.
But you were at 800, weren't you? You've been slowly reinstalling.
No, I was on about 500 something. I think maybe 560. And then obviously I lost all my apps in that terrible incident.
Yeah. You know, there's that great game, don't you, where it's like you ask an American, can you name all 50 states? Or you ask Jeff Marshall, can you name all 272 states? Will, if we were to give you a blank piece of paper and would take you write down all the apps that are on your phone, how many do you think you could actually get? Wait, you can't look at your phone. Don't look at your phone.
It's a great idea.
It's a great idea.
Well, actually, to be fair, a lot of them I pull up from search, so I do type the names of the apps in quite a lot.
But how much? If you were to, could you list all the apps on your phone?
No.
Right.
But like, there's times where I go, oh, I remember that app. What was that called? And then I remember it and type it in and go, oh, I remember this.
Jeff, what's your app count?
Oh, I don't care. You know I don't care. Really? I don't.
It's like 12.
I don't. Hang on.
Well, I'll be installing Blue Sky very shortly, and that will be another one to add to my current number, which is 315. I have 315 applications on here.
So I have overtaken
you have pulled ahead once again. 256 gigabytes capacity, available 123. So I'm just about halfway through my 256 gigs.
I've got 73 apps on.
73.
I think that's gone down from like 84 last time. Just the other day I was deleting an app. I was like, I never used that. Gosh, gone.
Do you unsubscribe from YouTube channels as well?
Oh, very much. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. No, I'm very much. I declutter. I declutter my. I can't have things on my desktop or random things left behind. Yeah. I'm a real kind of got to keep things neat and tidy. Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I quite often just browse folders on Windows Explorer just to be like, do I need that? Can I delete that? Can I give that a better name and rename it? Or can I... Just today, I took 3 folders and organized it into one folder just to kind of rationalize it down.
Quiet day today, was it, Jeff?
I was killing time before I chatted to you lovely boys here on the podcast.
Nice.
Good. Right, can I go now? It's getting late.
Well, I was going to say, so we're not talking about unsubscribing from your own YouTube channel, because that has you were teasing us with talking about YouTube a few days ago, Jeff. We're not going to talk about that on this podcast. I think we're going to have to leave AirTags for another day as well.
I do want to hear that.
It's a great story. I wish it had a happier ending.
I think Will could edit and publish this podcast within this month, this year, and then we do another one.
Yeah.
And we start with
2 a year. People are going to say it's too much.
End of Frackulous. If your puny human minds can handle more, then follow on Twitter. @FRACKULOUS, or individually. @David McClelland. DAVIDMCCLELLAND. @GeoffTech. GEOFFTECH. @Will Head. WILLHEAD. Email your brains to hello@frackulous.com. I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride my bike. I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride it where I like.
Yeah, and we haven't spoken about hotel stays.
We teased that at the last.
Oh, did we?
We should mention it, Dave, because we teased it at the end of last. I was going to say last month's episode. At the end of the last episode.
And I've got a really, really good story about AirTags, but I think this is going to take about 10 minutes for us to get through, because I lost my luggage as I was flying back from Florida, and AirTags failed. And I ended up on several support calls with Apple to try and work out what on earth was happening with my AirTags. And whereas I knew my bag,
but I'm going to go and get another drink.
Can
I have a drink break? Well,
we're already at 1 hour 20, and my concern is that if we carry on going, it's just going to make it even more difficult for Will to edit. So maybe we keep this one to where we're at.
Then we should tell the listeners that David and I just have a fun game now. And I can't even remember how it started. But whenever we travel, because we both tend to travel a lot for our job.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we're always in a hotel or a terrible B&B. And in the old days, we just used to send pictures of the rooms that we were staying in. And the freakiest one is when David actually zoomed in to the picture. I was like, here's my hotel room, but you can't guess where it is. And I'd left the key card sort of lying on the bed.
Oh, yes, I did.
And it was in like a little paper wrapper, which had the name of the hotel on it. You must have zoomed in to the pixelated, and you'd worked out, it said like Britannia or something. And you worked out, I think it was Britannia, the Britannia hotel chain. You worked out that I was down in Brighton staying at the Britannia hotel. But we no longer take pictures of rooms anymore, David, do we? We now do what?
We now do pictures of the hallway, for example. So the corridors, we have become carpet connoisseurs, and I think we can identify the chain of hotel that we may or may not be staying at by virtue of the carpet.
And I feel bad because it's a fun game that you and I have without Will. Will's been excluded from the fun game of sending pictures of carpet hotels.
I don't stay in many hotels, so.
But going back to the hotel room thing, the one that you mentioned, the Britannia one, the one that I was proudest of, I think, was when you were staying on the Isle of Wight, and
right.
You've
never been to the Isle of Wight.
I've
not been 10 times now. Yeah, go on.
So you took a picture of your hotel room, and it was pointing out to to the beach, right. and I was determined to use whatever open source intelligence I could muster to try and work out which hotel you were staying in. So I looked at the time of day, I looked at the orientation of the island, because I could work out some shadows. I could just make out the railings at the front of the hotel, and I think I managed to surprise you by sending you the website. Not only the website of the hotel that you were staying at, after a couple of questions.
But it had an image of a hotel room, and you just sent me the image, right?
I sent you the hotel's webpage that had an image of your hotel room, and you'd taken almost an identical image. And I could tell from when that image was taken on the hotel website, because of when it was also listed on TripAdvisor, that they had not changed the decor in that room for about 10 years.
Oh, so can I tell you something that I thought of doing after that? It was maybe after the Britannia incident. I'm trying to think what the word is when they give you a plastic key fob and they put it in like a paper wallet. So we should call it the paper wallet, and the paper wallet had. So David, I actually saved that Britannia paper wallet, and for about a month I carried it around in my bag. And what I really wanted to do was go to a completely different random hotel and then leave the Britannia thing out on the side. Send you a picture, be like, yes, you can't guess where I am. And you're going to be like, is it Britannia? You're going to be like, aha, no, it's not.
It's a red herring. That's what it is.
But I either lost it or I forgot to do it, or I just thought, I can't be bothered. But I did think to try and thwart you on purpose. But fun twist, yeah.
What fun we had.
So this is what David and I get up to for entertainment.